welcome to the show. Our guest today is Leah Canali. And is that how you pronounce it?
So I say Canali, yeah. Leah Elise Canali is my full name. Yep. Although a lot of people call me Cannoli.
Really? Is that because you've come from an Italian background?
I think that's part of it. And they just see Canali and Cannoli's funnier and cuter. And but you know what? I'll answer to it.
Yep.
If it's delicious, I'll probably answer to it. Canali, cannelloni, cannoli.
It's all good. So, Leah, we met on a cruise ship. You were a guest entertainer on Celebrity Beyond, and that was during my adventures when I was calling it A Voice and Beyond was going beyond. And
Excellent.
I literally was going beyond, and I had the fabulous opportunity of meeting you, watching you perform on board the ship. So you are a vocalist, and in addition to your stage life, you're a songwriter, incredible songwriter, a session vocalist, and a commercial jingle composer. So you've got quite a career going on. So let's start. Where did all this begin?
Oh Lord. Yeah, the origin story of Leah Canali. I was actually a very painfully shy child, so kind of ironic that I ended up as a performer. But I always had a really high voice. And my dad, when I was younger, he used to kind of like find it, I don't know, funny, proud dad moment or whatever to like make his kid kind of do stuff. And so he'd make me sing like Phantom of the Opera. There's a very funny video, old VHS. That's how old I am, a camcorder VHS. Me, at 3 years old singing Phantom of the Opera for family friends. Mortified though, because I was so shy. But I did always love singing. And my parents were big music people. So my dad played the accordion, but my mom is just a music lover. She doesn't play any instruments, she doesn't sing, but she just loves music. She always has music on in the house. Big musical theater fan, so I grew up with a lot of musical theater in the house. And my dad was like a Buddy Holly guy. He's that era. And then obviously my mom, the pop of the 60s was kind of her jam. So the Beatles and all that stuff, the Animals, she loves all those
Oh,
kind of,
yes. Yes.
those groups. So yeah, there was always music in my house. And then yeah, I mean, when you're a little girl or boy, I guess, or anything in between that can sing high, um, you know, they want you to sing high. So I did. I sang a lot for school functions and stuff. And then it probably kicked off for real in middle school, high school. I started doing a lot of theater, and then I started training classically. I trained with a mezzo soprano. Danuta Savowasoda is her name, and she was a big European soprano for years. And so I trained with her. And then I went to school for musical theater. And then, my voice kind of dropped down into a more soulful kind of um, smoky place.
Mm.
And so I started doing more pop, soul, R&B out of college, and it kind of went from there. So I
Yeah.
started with bands, and you know and writing, and kind of all yeah, it's a wide variety of things that keep me busy.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I trade it.
Because you do sing a wide variety of music, and listening to the what you were saying about the music that was being played in your house, that is
Mhm.
such a wide variety of music there. So I suppose all that music was your inspiration at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I mean, even down to like my dad was a big Andre Bocelli fan, so we had a lot of opera in the house too. So
Oh my gosh. So everything.
yeah, just a widespread. If it's good. I mean, my mom loves like a driving beat. It's so funny. I feel like she's a secret raver maybe, but no, she likes drums. She likes epic beats. She likes I think she likes the feeling of the music, right?
Mm, mm.
Um, and who doesn't love a good like poppy hook? So,
Oh,
but yeah,
count
I mean,
me in.
right? Count me in.
Count me in. I'm there, girl.
Totally. And like, to my mom's credit too, she introduced me to a lot of like female artists that were really amazing, people like Joni Mitchell. uh
Mm,
and I think it's really important I don't have children myself, but I do think it's really important if you do have kids just to have music on in the house, to introduce them to music. I just think it's a really important thing for humans to hear all different kinds of music.
Absolutely. Yeah, the joy that music brings. And it's interesting that you had this high voice.
Mhm.
And so you're obviously soprano. You go and have training, classical training with a mezzo,
Yeah.
and then you end up going into the pop and rock genres and soul and R&B. So those lessons that you had, how did they equip you for the styles that you were wanting to sing or you ended up singing? Like, was that a natural transition because they were in your ear, or did you have to figure that out as a vocalist for yourself?
I mean, I would say it's a firm yes and no. So I think the thing with classical training, um, it is a good foundational start for anything really. But I mean, there's lots of different vocal pedagogies that are great foundations. You don't have to be classically trained. I think we have this rhetoric that it's like, oh, it's classical, so that's the one, and you have to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different kinds of vocal pedagogy that
Thank
are
you.
yeah, that are emerging now. We're
Yes.
starting to give more credence to soul, jazz, blues, the roots there. And I think you know training in general is just really important if you're going to be a singer. Whether or not it's classical is a sort of different thing, and it can actually be harder to transition from classical to doing more pop stuff. The one thing I will say with classical training is it is kind of a, I would say, a celebration of the human voice. So it is really a vocal instrument centric training. So when my voice is tired, when I am at the end of a long week or a long month with a lot of gigs, I do find that like those foundational bricks really do help me carry through, and I'm able to gig and gig and gig, and not lose my voice, which is very important. But there's definitely technique things that are different across the different trainings. For me, another big thing that happened in sort of the arc of my singing career was that when I first started singing professionally, I was straight out of college. I was actually still in college, so I did have some professional gigs like late teens, early 20s, but really going full into it I was the end of college. um, and I worked for a big entertainment company in Boston. I worked for Harbor Cruise that did cabarets, lunch and dinner cabarets. I was still doing work in school to finish my program, so my voice was basically blown. Um, and I went to vocal therapy
Mm-hmm.
in Boston. It was a program called Vocal Therapy for the Professional Vocalists, and I was lucky because I didn't need surgery. I was overworked and not working smart, and so the
Yes.
vocal therapist had this little woman named Mary. I can't remember her last name now, but yeah, she was like, I think you're working too hard, and I think you're used to a certain style of singing, and now you're singing a different style, and we're gonna just bridge the gap and make sure that you are singing the styles that you want, but healthily. So she kind of taught me how to
Aha.
yeah, she taught me how to
Yes.
create sounds in easier ways. So like sometimes we think we have to push so hard from certain areas of our body, and that is also a classical thing, right? That diaphragmatic, like
Yes.
real supported, big chested vocal. But
Yeah.
like for pop
Large
stuff,
volumes of air,
yeah, and for
all
pop
of
stuff,
that.
you don't need it. And so she really kind of helped me bridge the gap there. I will say, like, I'm a very vibrato-y singer. I always have been. A lot of sopranos are. We tend to be. Um, which is great for classical music. It is also great for pop music as well. Like some people don't like vibrato, but if you
Mm.
listen to some of the poppier singers, like they do have a natural vibrato. Like Whitney has a natural vibrato to her voice. Ariana has a natural vibrato to her voice. There is a way to make
Mhm.
or vibrato very poppy. Um, so for me, that was a big building block as well, was transitioning what I knew from my original training into how to create these more R&B pop sounds with the same instrument, essentially.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
how to create those in a more healthier, sustainable way.
Yeah.
So, the classical training, it sounds like to me you had a fantastic teacher
Yeah.
and she taught you some really good skills, but then it was time for you to then, as you call it, bridge the gap between what we call CCM in our industry, which is contemporary commercial music styles,
Mhm.
to, yeah, so classical to CCM.
Yeah.
Because when it came to that kind of workload, it wasn't sustaining you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors that went into that initial blowout, that were also completely not even related
Yes.
to singing. Stress in my life, finishing a college degree, starting out professionally for the first time, working crazy hours that had never worked before. Like, um, most theater shows end at 10. Some of these gigs I was doing were going till 2 a.m., and then I was getting up to
Yes.
classes and
Yes.
stuff. So there's a
Yep.
lot that goes into just keeping an instrument healthy.
Yes.
Um,
And earning money.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
we have to do in our industry. We have to work to get paid. We don't work, we don't get paid. We don't have food on the table. And you do what you have to do, and you have to hustle, and you've just got to get out there and take everything.
absolutely. And yeah, especially right out the gate, you do feel like you have to take everything that comes along. And even like now, I mean, I'm going to be 40 next year and I've been singing professionally for 20 years. Um, I still have trouble saying no to gigs because I'm like, oh
Yes.
God, I'll never get another one. And it's like, no, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's not how it works. And some gigs you have to say no to and you just let them go and they're not for you and they're for somebody else. And, there's working hard and there's working smart. And I think sometimes we like conflate the two in this industry where we're like, oh, we're working, we're busy, we're doing it. But it's like, we're not actually working smart though. And if you kind of let some things go, I have found, especially recently, that the
Mm.
correct things will kind of fill in the gaps. You don't need
Yes.
to be saying yes to everything.
Yes.
But that's a hard lesson to learn in the entertainment industry. It
It
really is.
is.
You
It
want
is.
you never know what door is going to open after you've
Mm.
walked through another one. So I sympathize with people coming straight out the gate. And especially now with like so many mediums and so many things going on.
It's
But yeah,
yes.
I mean, I'd say, you know, the foundational training that I got was incredible and it has certainly sustained me into my adulthood. And every once in a while when I need to pull out a fun like high vibrato-y aria note or whatever, it's great.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah. So your voice has been described as having a signature smoky, soulful tone with a high dose of coveted whistle tones. And you're a multi-genre master. And I've seen you sing across a number of styles in your show. Where do you feel now, you're almost 20 years in the industry, that your voice feels most comfortable, and what genre are you most happiest singing too?
Yeah, I'd say probably soul and R&B are my two go-tos now. I mean, even when like you saw my show, like even when I do musical theater, I usually do it with I do arrangements that like I've worked on, that are more soulful, that are more R&B. The cool thing now is that idea of taking like a song and turning it into a different genre is quite common and popular now.
Yes.
I really like that because I do like singing soul quite a lot. So to be able to take a song that I relate to on a subject matter level, but maybe not on a style level, and then turn
Mm.
that song into a style that I do relate to vocally is a really cool thing. That I think a lot of vocalists are doing now, especially with like there's so many covers on Spotify and Tidal and all of the different streaming
Yes.
services.
Yes.
YouTube is huge
Yes.
for it, Instagram,
Yes.
and it's nice to be able to take a song that you do really connect with, um, and turn it into something that you want to sing.
Yes.
That being said, like sometimes I like to throw out a little like straight up musical theater, a little Don't Rain on My Parade. I'm into it. But yeah, I would say the genre that I sit most firmly in would be soul and R&B.
And do you write those arrangements yourself? Do you come up with those yourself, or do you have an arranger that does it for you?
So a little bit of both. In the case of the show that I do on the Beyond, I do an arrangement of "She Used to Be Mine," which I got together with a writing partner of mine, and we conceived together. And then there's some other arrangements that are in my show that are soulful arrangements that I did just hire somebody to arrange for me. I'm lucky. I've worked with a lot of really incredible musicians in my career. And so I do have a really lovely family of musicians that I can call and be like, hey, I have this idea. I don't know if it's going to work. Like, can we workshop this? And I'll sing through what I'm thinking. And maybe you can help me,
Mm.
because I don't actually play the piano. I mean, I can play a bit. I always say I play singer piano, which is probably,
Yes, nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that. I can
There's
chord,
nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that. I can
That's all
chord
right.
underneath my feet. I can write, songs and stuff. But if I want like a proper piano arrangement, I'm gonna go to a pianist who I trust. And but yeah, I do have a great bank of people that I work with. So a little bit of both. Like sometimes I'll come up with something and then we'll bring it to fruition, or sometimes I will literally say like, hey, I think we could do this gospel style. What do you think? And then they'll, come up with something that maybe I wouldn't have even thought of.
So you have to have that team of people around you that know you and know your work and speak your speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna Leah Canali this song, which is usually slow it down and make it soulful.
That's not too much to ask. And to, you're talking about all these covers on YouTube. I love some of the covers that are out there.
Some of them are absolutely stunning. In some cases, better than the originals. I mean, I talk
Yes.
about that in my show actually a lot. Where as a songwriter myself, I think it is very cool when somebody takes something you've written and turns it into something that you never expected. Right? Like we
Yes.
have incredible examples of that throughout history. I mean, the classic, obviously number one for me would be the "I Will Always Love You" version, which is, you know, Dolly's version is amazing, and we love Dolly, but it's like the Whitney version really is
Yes.
the version of that song.
I
Uh,
know.
so yeah,
I
it's
know.
it's
I
cool
know.
when you do that.
But also too, it's teaching up and coming performers or some of my younger students, when I say younger, like the ones that are in my pop program that are
Mhm.
17, 18, straight out of school,
Yeah,
that you don't have to sing like the original artists. And it's giving people ideas and planting the seed that you can have your own style and you need to have your own signature sound if you want to be successful. It's no point sounding like Adele
sure.
if Adele's already been discovered. She's already made millions of
You have
dollars.
Adele, yeah,
We already have Adele, so we don't need another one.
yeah.
You need to find the sound that really works for you, and that's what you're saying. You found what works for you, and that is what's making you money. It's not you imitating other artists. And
Right.
so I read on your website that you are the queen who sings for queens, and you have a big fan in Rapul.
I
He's an
do.
avid follower of yours. And how
Yes.
did he discover you?
It's wild. So yeah, the sort of the history of Leah and the Queens. So at that same time that I started singing professionally, I also started living with a gaggle of drag queens. I lived with three drag queens in this little dingy basement apartment in Boston, Mass, at the end of Boylston Street. It's right near Fenway Park. It was one
I've
of the,
stayed there. I've
yeah,
stayed there, not far from Berkeley College.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
right. And that building actually is like a Berkeley building. It's not officially a Berkeley building, but all pretty much everybody that lives there is either Berkeley or BOCO, the Boston Conservatory. But yeah, I lived in the basement. It was one of those places that, it holds a very special place in my heart. That apartment, it was the last apartment that I had when I lived in Boston. And the people that, I lived with there really did shape who I became as a human and as a performer. And one of the things that I used to do was, yeah, perform with drag queens. And I went into my adult, life doing that as well. I
Mm.
do a lot of like drop-ins and drag shows.
Yeah.
And drag became a big part of my career. The LGBT community became a big part of my career. I perform at Pride a lot. So years ago, I did a cabaret. It was called All My Friends Are on Broadway, and it was basically just talking about working in this industry and how you end up, if you work long enough, working with a lot of people that end up on Broadway, on TV, in films.
Mhm.
Like you kind of have a bank of people that that are doing cool things.
Yes.
And a bunch of my friends have ended up on RuPaul's Drag Race. And so in that show, I did, as my like, you know, song about the queens, I did a soulful version of Sissy That Walk, which is one of RuPaul's biggest songs. Um, and I'd always been a fan of RuPaul, actually. To be honest, even before Drag Race, I watched the RuPaul show back in the day. Like I was a RuPaul fan even before the masses.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so I did this little cover of Sissy That Walk, and somebody filmed it um, live and then put it up. It was when Facebook started to have those like embedded videos and put it up on Facebook, and it started getting shared. He was from the UK, and it started getting shared all over the UK. And I was like, oh, maybe I should actually do something with this. So I went into a recording studio, did a proper recording of it with my band, and then filmed a video at a ball in Toronto. So if you know anything about the ballroom scene, the Voguers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's me walking at a ball. I'm actually a member of a house. It's called the House of Nuance. My ballroom name is Siren Nuance. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Go
So yeah,
you.
you
I
know,
want to know if there's anything you don't do.
there's many things I don't do, but but yeah, that is one of them I do. Um, and yeah, so I filmed this video and then I just like threw it up on YouTube, not really thinking anything of it, and then it went crazy on Twitter, and RuPaul started sharing it over and over and over again, and then he started sharing all of my stuff, and then I did follow-up videos, and I just started covering. I realized actually in listening to his catalog, RuPaul's songs are actually great pop songs. Like they're very obviously produced and electro,
Mm.
and you know there's a lot going on in them in the actual recordings. But when you just strip them down, they're really really great songs. A songwriting friend of mine, actually, he always says like if you can strip a song down and just play it with voice and an acoustic guitar, you know you
Mm.
have something. And a lot of
Yes.
RuPaul songs you can do that with. So that's sort of what I started doing, and then I met him. And then he started sharing my stuff too, like my albums, my videos. And it's been really crazy. Like I got an email from him on my birthday this year. It's just been really
Oh,
wild. And then yeah, I transitioned into writing with queens from the franchise. My writing partner, Stacey K, is her name. She's another amazing singer from Canada. She was just on Canada's Got Talent, actually. And yeah, she actually reached out to her. We saw each other on a music video shoot. We were background sort of in a music video shoot. And she's like, Canada's Drag Race is coming, right? And I was like, I do know. She's like, we need to start demoing stuff. So we just got together and we started demoing songs. And then one of them got purchased by Brooklyn Heights, who is a former RuPaul girl and now the host of Canada's Drag Race.
oh,
So
really?
our song Queen of the North ended up being her first single, and then it ended up being the finale song of I think 2 seasons ago on Canada's Drag Race. It's the first time a non RuPaul song was used as a finale song ever in the franchise.
Yes.
And then yeah, we've written with a bunch of queens since then. We had a song go viral on TikTok. Um, yeah, so
Wow.
it's been
Because
great.
you have actually written and recorded and performed with a number of like there's Katia, Trixie Mattel. I don't know any of these people, but with but these people the some of these drag queens that you work with, I mean, when you watch the show, some of them are real divas.
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
are they like that in real life, or is it just to put on for the show? Because they want to kill each other sometimes.
I
They get so nasty.
I think the thing with Drag Race, you have to also remember it is reality television, right? So a lot of them are playing into the fact that it is a reality TV show and
Yes.
you want to get airtime. And, sometimes being a bit of a diva gets you more airtime.
Hmm.
And they always say, like, oh, blame it on the edit. I think RuPaul actually has a song called Blame It on the Edit. And
I'd love that.
yeah, like you can be edited in any number of ways on a
Hmm.
reality television show.
Hmm.
This is why like reality TV has never really been my bag. Like people always
Yeah.
ask me like, "Oh, you're gonna do The Voice? You're gonna do that?" And I'm like, "No, it's really I don't think of singing as like a competitive art really. So for me,
No.
it's not really my bag. But I do have many friends that have been on reality television. So yeah, I mean to answer, but Stacey and I laugh about it actually. We often find that exactly how you think these people are going to be in real life, they generally are. So like on TV, they get a pretty accurate portrayal generally speaking, but then sometimes there's surprises. Like for example, Brooklyn's very sort of stoic. She's a ballerina, you know, gorgeous, stunning as a woman. So we thought she would kind of be like too cool for school, and then she got into the studio and she was just funny and she made us laugh. And so I do think there's a bit of you know, like every drag queen, you don't become a drag queen if you don't have a little bit of diva in you. You know, it's like you don't become
Yes.
a professional singer if you
Yes.
don't have a little bit of the diva in you.
Yes.
Um, so I think there's a kindred spirit there with queens and female singers.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I think some of them can be divas, but by and large, most of the ones we've worked with have been pretty great.
Yes. So when your songs have been picked up, have they been picked up by the franchise, or have you specifically written for them? Have you been asked to write for them?
Yeah, so a lot of it is we write for queens either when they've come out of the franchise or are going. Like for example, we're writing with the Brat Pack right now, which is a group that was just on I think the last season of Canada's Dragons, or maybe 2 seasons back now. Um, but they contacted us basically saying like we've come out of the franchise, we want an EP. Priyanka was the same. With Brooklyn, we brought the song to Brooklyn, and then the show purchased the song um, essentially from us to use on the show. So yeah, I mean, we're hopeful that eventually we'll be asked to actually be like sort of official songwriters. We're not sure yet, but we're trying to build um, more of a portfolio to keep working with the franchise. To be honest, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, like my big thing, I would really like to write for Rue at some point, and we'll see.
Mm.
Hopefully, fingers
Yes.
crossed.
Well, you're in the groove, you're in with the people that matter, and you are quite a talented songwriter. Obviously, you've had such success. In 2021, you co-wrote and produced and sang on the Taste EP, which
Yeah, that's
debuted at number 5 on the
yeah,
iTunes
that's-
pop charts. Congratulations.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And
That was very cool. It was a cool day when we saw that. We were like, oh my god, Priyanka, you're number 5 on the charts. Like
that
it
is
was really cool.
amazing. Yeah.
Mm.
So where does your inspiration as a songwriter come from?
Oh, good question. A lot of things. Like Stacey and I talk about this a lot. Sometimes, you know, in the middle of the night, we'll just like bolt up and it'll be like, oh my God, I have an idea and I need to get into a voice memo right now. Um, Sometimes it's real life experiences. Sometimes it's just I'll hear a sound and I'm like, that would be cool in a song. Or like a line of poetry or somebody says something really iconic that I'm just like, oh, whoa, stop right there. That needs to be a line of something. Um, like, yeah, a friend of mine years ago was going through like a hard time, and I have a song about him called "Wait Until Tomorrow," and it was literally spawned from he said to me after like going through a bit of a rough patch. He said, "Girl, I was almost a memory," and I was like, "Oh my god, that's such a line, right?" And so yeah, like little things like that spark me for sure. In terms of the co-writing and stuff, sometimes we go in with fully formed songs. Like we did that with Priyanka for a few of the songs. We went in with songs and then she kind of shaped them lyrically into something that she wanted. Sometimes we go in and collaborate completely. So, you know, our the people we're writing with will come in with a subject matter and then we create a song all together. Sometimes Stacey and I will like kind of stitch together 2 songs that we like pieces of songs like that happened with there's a song on Priyanka's album called Cake, and I think the pre-chorus was something that I had sung and the verses were something that Stacey had sung, and when we were singing them back to back together we were like, wait a minute, this is in the same key, and this sounds really similar. So like we actually think we could stitch the two pieces
All
together and
right.
create an actual song, which is what we did. Um, so yeah, in terms of inspiration, I mean, I guess the answer is like inspiration can hit you anywhere at any time. So yeah, I mean, the good thing about old cell phones is you can just, record yourself anytime.
Mm.
Sometimes, those middle of the night recordings, not so great. We laugh about
Yes.
them real hard after the fact when we go back and listen, but sometimes they are pretty good. And I always like have my notes on my iPhone are pretty hilarious because a lot of times they'll just be fragments of things. I find oftentimes because I do a lot of yoga, in like the final poses of yoga, lyrics will pop into my head and I'm like, remember this, remember this, remember this. Don't leave the class.
That's not being very mindful.
Yeah, I know. It's really taking you out of the class, but I'm like, I gotta get this down.
Mm,
Um, yeah, so I guess the answer is like inspiration comes from a lot of different
yeah.
places.
And what's your strength as a songwriter? Are you the person you are more into the writing of the lyrics or composing the music? Where do you sit in most comfortably in that process?
So I do primarily what's called top lining, which a lot of singers do. Actually, Sia is a great top liner. It's a great example. So basically, usually that is like we'll have a track, and then I come up with lyrics and melody on top of the track.
Wow.
Sometimes I will also come up with melody as well, or like actual like pieces of the song. But we do have a producer that we work with who creates the actual like master physical tracks for us.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I primarily do lyrics and melody. Actually, Stacey always says that I'm the one that usually comes in with like the clutch lyrics. So when
Mm.
we're all kind of like sitting in a brainstorm and it's there's a little hamster wheel going and we can't get out of a rut, she's like, you're usually the one that like comes up with the word that like gets us out of the place. So I'm like, that's a great compliment. Like I didn't think of that as a strength of mine, but it's something that was pointed out to me, and I was like, oh, thanks, girl.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I guess lyrics would be my sort of forte.
So, do you believe that as an artist, one, it gives you greater credibility if you are a songwriter as well? And how important is it for an emerging artist to be able to write their own music, do you think?
That is a toughie because I think there is this sort of stigma that if you're a singer who doesn't write their own music, you're somehow lesser than singers who
Mm,
do. And I don't actually agree with that because like
yes.
there's incredible vocalists that don't really write. Like I don't think Celine Dion is writing her music. Like I to be honest, like I know Beyonce has a lot of like writing credits. I don't think Beyonce is doing a lot of writing herself. But I
Ah,
don't I
what?
I know.
Oh,
Scandals.
no. That is a moment in this podcast.
I know, sorry.
Spoiler alert for Beyonce.
And I'm not coming from Beyonce. Look, if you're in the room, you got a credit, and I'm sure she is part of the process. But I do think she probably has a lot of people bringing her stuff, and that again, there is literally nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
I think what she brings to a song is the Beyonce factor,
It's
right? She
yeah,
brings
it's
voice.
exactly. She Beyoncefies it.
She Beyoncefies, yes. And same with Celine. Like Celine takes a song, she Celenifies it, or like I mean, Whitney wasn't really a writer, right? Like,
Yes,
and
exactly.
one of the lists of all time. Aretha wasn't really a writer. Like, I mean, we have these incredible vocalists that aren't necessarily writers, and like some of them are. Like, I'm not saying, and a great example there is Mariah. Mariah writes all of her stuff. Nobody knows that she does, but she writes all of her stuff.
Hmm.
Um, does that make her more legitimate? I don't know, but I
Not
think it's
at the
very
moment.
not at the moment. Uh, but I do think it is really cool to be part of the process, and I think the upside of being involved in the writing of a song is often that you will connect harder with the material, generally speaking, if you have put something into it.
Mm.
But that being said, like there's songs that I sing that I connect with on an extreme emotional level that I had nothing to do with writing. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
yeah, I think it is. I think basic knowledge of music is important for anyone. Like it's funny on the cruises. I often meet older people who are getting into music at an older age. Like There was a lovely couple on the last cruise that I did that, we chatted for a bit, and the woman was learning how to play piano. I think she was like 67 years old, and she was
Yeah.
learning how to play piano at 67. And I'm like, and
Amazing.
she's like, oh, but I'll never be good. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're doing it. And I think it's really cool
Yes.
to sort of
Yeah,
like build that. Um,
exactly.
so I think if you're going to be a performer, having knowledge of music,
Mm.
being involved in the writing process is great, and definitely, puts you in a different realm in terms of being an artist. But I also don't think it's 100% necessary, and I think that there are plenty of incredible vocalists that don't write, and it doesn't negatively impact them at
Yes.
all.
They're not frowned upon for not writing.
Nor
Yes.
should they
No,
be.
exactly. Now you have also too some amazing performance credits. And for example, you've worked for the Boston Red Sox, you have worked at World Fashion Week. There's so many,
Mm.
but the one that I want to point out to our listeners is that you worked at, or should I say, performed at the official inaugural party of Barack Obama.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did that happen?
2008. Yeah, it was when he was first elected, which was very cool because, um, there was hope in the air again. It was amazing.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, so I always joke, yes, I performed for the inauguration. No, I did not
Mm.
perform in DC. And people are like, hey, Canoli, the inauguration happens in DC, just so you know. And I'm like, no, no, I know. But in the States, when there's an inauguration, every major city has an official inaugural party. And I sang at the one in Boston. So, and there was a feed to Washington, and the president came on. He said hello to us, watched our performance, went about becoming the president of the United States. So I always say, the first Zoom call I ever did was with the president of the United States, which is pretty cool.
Start
Um,
at the top.
right? You gotta start
Yeah.
somewhere.
So you
Uh,
didn't actually meet him, and he
no,
wasn't physically in the room, but you still performed for him.
Yeah, which was very cool. And it's funny,
Yes.
I've come across Barack Obama is a big lover of music, so I've
Yes.
come across a lot of performers in my life that have performed for Barack Obama because he just likes to
Mm.
go to music things,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the White House does a lot of big concerts and stuff. So yeah, it's not uncommon in the industry to have performed for Barack Obama. So I count myself very lucky to be one of those people that got to do it. And just like for that particular inauguration, it was really cool because it was so
Mm.
historic and so important. And I had voted for him, and we were all very excited that he got into the presidency.
Yes, yes. And also too, you have to love Michelle Obama too. I was listening to her
Yeah,
the other day at being interviewed by Oprah.
she's
It
incredible.
wasn't the big interview that she did, it was another interview, and I thought, this woman is just so down to earth. She could be your next door neighbor, but she just has such an aura, such a presence, such a beauty about her inside and out. She's remarkable.
She
Yeah.
really is. Yeah, she's
Yes.
a she's a stunning human for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you've done so many incredible performances. You've been on some big stages. You've worked at music awards. You've worked at the World Ballroom Championships, like TV work that you've done. Do you work through an agent or are you a hustler?
I mean, a little of both actually. So the where you met me, like the cruise work that I do, so guest entertaining is what I do. It's
Yeah.
so funny I feel like there's a little bit of a thing in the industry when you say you work for cruise ships, where people are like, "Oh, cruise ships," and I'm like, "No, no,
Mm.
no, you don't understand. Like guest entertaining is incredible. Like I have my show, I bring it on, I do my show, they fly me back. It's great. I go out for a couple weeks, come back." And honestly, like again, it's sort of the thing where like you shouldn't shame anyone in the industry for doing anything, right? Like cruise
I
ship guys
know.
are
Hey, I'm working. What are you
yeah,
doing?
pay very well. You're seeing the world. Like there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, so to do the cruise work, I do work through an agency based in Fort Lauderdale. My amazing agent Jan. gets me all my cruise work. But the rest, I have done sans agency, so I've just been kind of a hustler. I worked for a big entertainment company in Toronto for a long time. I helped build that company. I did all the music bookings too. Like I used to be responsible for booking, hundreds of musicians in a month. Um, and yeah, so I kind of learned the ins and outs there, and I've just kind of kept the ball rolling that way. So I guess the answer is both. I do have representation for certain things, and then for other things, I don't.
Hmm.
And I just, I hustle, and luckily I guess, proven myself enough, especially in Toronto and Canada, and even in the
Yes.
states. I went down to the states a bunch and gig during the pandemic. That people call me, and um, so yeah, I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, that keeps going. But yeah, it's very doable. Like this is the thing. I think people get a little overwhelmed in this industry, thinking they have to do certain things or they have to go certain roads, or you need this or you need that. And sure, there are certain like things, foundational things that help, but you can make a career. It just might not look like exactly what you thought it was going to look like,
Mm,
but you
mm,
can work and you can
mm.
make a living. Like I've been making a living as a vocalist for 20 years, so
Yes.
very
Yes.
doable. Actually,
And I did for 35 years.
yeah,
Very doable.
yeah.
And
So
you
that
have to be a hustler.
you
You
do.
have
You have
some what we call booking agents. They're not managing you exclusively, but they do help you be hired for certain gigs.
yes.
But you do have to hustle. You can't sit around waiting for people to knock at your door. That doesn't happen.
No, you don't. It doesn't happen, and that is one thing that I find sometimes with vocalists, that there's a waiting game where they're like waiting around for somebody to kind of open the door for them, and it's like no, no one's gonna do it. There's pieces of pie for everybody, but
Yes.
you do have to really advocate for yourself because nobody is gonna promote you
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
you will.
Exactly.
Um, so
Exactly.
if you want it, go for it. And I think, you know, I'm living proof that you definitely can make it happen for sure.
Yes. And so do you feel that the industry's been kind to you over the years?
Yes and no. I mean, I think we, especially as women in the industry, we all have the stories of, the abuse of power, um, the I'm gonna make you a star, kid. If I had a quarter for every time somebody told me that, I could buy the industry. Um, so there's been really incredible things that have happened to me in this industry, and there have also been really terrible things. I worked, that entertainment company that I was talking about, I worked for 10 years for them, built the company, and the owner was not a nice guy. And there's a lot of advantages taken. But it's also, I think, and I'm learning this myself, setting boundaries is really important. Saying no to certain things is really important. And also surrounding yourself with people you trust and people that are going to have your back. So I definitely have been in situations where people didn't have my back, and
Hmm.
it was really, really hard. And I think a lot of, especially, I mean, I hate to gender it, but especially women,
Oh,
I think
yes.
fall
Yes.
into that category more often than not, where we're backed into corners that are not fair, they're
Hmm.
dangerous,
Yes,
they're
we
sexually
get bullied.
100%. And like oftentimes, like I'll show up, like I'm a band leader. I have a band, and it's a bunch of boys usually. Like sometimes I've got a couple girls that play with me too, but it's primarily boys in the band, and then I'm the leader. But everybody always assumes that the guys are the band leaders, and they're lovely humans. So they're just like, oh no, ask Leah, like she's the one in
Hmm.
charge, all the dress right there, like. But nobody comes to me first thinking that I'm the one. I also DJ, and oftentimes like people will come to the sound board and be like, and talking to the sound guy as if he's the
He's the
DJ.
DJ. On.
Hi, it's me, this girl in front of the decks with the headphones on. That's me. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think the industry has been both so wonderful to me, and also there's been some definite lows where,
Mhm.
and situations that, like, for example, I kind of hit a low in 2019, early 2020, ironically, right before the pandemic hit, and I just couldn't see my way out of it. And I was really questioning whether or not I would want to keep going the way I was going. And then, bam, the pandemic shut the door, and I had to reinvent. And I sat with myself and I figured out what I wanted to do, and that actually opened the door for a lot of songwriting as well because it was something we could still do during the pandemic. We
Mm-hmm.
were performing a lot, so there was a lot of Zoom songwriting sessions and a lot of Zoom recordings we could record, remotely. Um, and so yeah, I hit like a really rock bottomy time, and then
Were you
at,
burnt out at
I
that
was
time?
very burnt out. Yeah, I was very burnt out. I was exhausted. I was gigging a lot. A lot had been thrown on my plate, just organizationally as well. Um, and so yeah, that was a time that the industry maybe wasn't treating me that well. But I also
Mm.
wasn't treating myself very well. So
Hmm.
I can't blame the industry totally for that time period. But um, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
the God's honest answer is both. It's been
Hmm.
amazing and absolute terror.
Yes. And talking about, you hit that low, did it make you look at what am I doing to take care of myself? So so what are the sorts of things that you do to take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally that help you sing in a healthy, sustainable manner?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a person, and I think a lot of people in this industry are that suffers pretty severely from anxiety. I think a lot
Mm,
of
yes,
performers have.
yes, and even the young performers coming through. I don't know if it's in our DNA.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it really is a very common. And it's funny because I feel like performers that I know often like, and I find this with myself too, my anxiety has nothing to do with the performance. Like once I'm on stage, I'm usually absolutely fine. It's all the lead up stuff. It's all the futzy things around the performance. It's day-to-day things that I'm anxious about. Once the lights are on, I'm good to go. And I feel
Yes,
like
you are.
and thank you, a lot of performers are that way, which is so interesting. I would love to do a case study on that at some
Mm,
point. Like what is that? But yeah, so I am an anxiety sufferer. I've suffered from depression as well. Again, a lot of performers have that as well.
absolutely. Yes.
Um, and
And I put my hand up to both.
yeah,
I own it.
yeah, yeah, and that's, I mean, I think that that's what it is. It's just we need to be real about it. It's
Hmm.
real, it's very honest. It's a thing that we deal with in this industry, and the industry has such extreme highs and extreme lows that if
Exactly.
you're already predisposed to that sort of feeling, it's going to be triggering, right? That's just the way it is. But I really wouldn't trade it. Like my mom always says, Lee, like your life is high and low. There's really no middles, and you were never meant to have like a middling life. Um, and so yeah, to sort of answer the original question, how do I cope? I have in the past used anti-anxiety medicine. I'm not currently on any. I have found that um, for me, exercise is a big thing. I know that
Hallelujah.
yeah, I know that that's not an answer for everybody. And
Yes.
if you need professional help, if you need medical assistance, like absolutely do it. But I do think that physical activity does play a big role. For me, it
It
definitely
does
does.
me too.
Yeah.
It does me. As soon as I start to become unhinged, it's because I haven't been moving my body as much as I should have been.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do a lot of yoga. I also really try, especially when I'm on contracts, I really try and like give myself at least a day a week to just kind of, I guess, exist is sort of the right way
Yes,
of saying it.
just
Just
just sit and be
sit and
and
be,
breathe.
yeah, breathe. Often like on those days I won't even watch TV or do any like listen to music or anything. I'm just kind of like allowing my senses to kind of calm themselves.
Well,
Uh,
that takes discipline.
It does, and mindfulness is really, really hard. Like, it's
Oh,
funny,
yes.
in doing yoga a lot. Like, I like the sort of like the power classes. I love a
Mm.
good power yoga. I actually did power yoga earlier today. So I do like a good physical challenge. And so many of my teachers are like, the people that love the physical challenge, often the mental, mindful side of yoga is actually what they should be focusing on more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah, damn it, you're so right. Ah, you got
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, that sounds like me.
yeah, and it's really hard. I mean, sort of I find like yin classes or the more like base level classes way harder because my brain just goes and I can't turn it off. So I do try and like sit in that. Yeah, and I mean basic stuff too. Like I'm really basic with sort of my stuff. Like I know a lot of singers have like crazy routines where they do like crazy vocalies and all this stuff, but I my big thing is rest and hydration. So like water, just water. Like people are like, oh, do you do like teas or like all this stuff? I'm like, no,
Oh, but it's
just
a
water.
load of rubbish
It's
anyway.
it's rubbish. I mean,
It's
unless
rubbish.
like if you're super phlegmy, maybe throw a thing of lemon in there. But like other than that, I just like water. Just drink lots of water.
Mhm.
Water and warm water if you need a little bit of whatever, but just water. Like
Yes.
um yeah, so that's steaming too. Like I'll take a hot shower before I sing. But I'm not one of those singers either that like sits with a crazy steamer usually. Like I I'm pretty bare bones with stuff, like in terms of, you know, things I ingest to stay healthy.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I try and moderate because I do have acid reflux, which a lot of singers have. I try to moderate spicy things and sugary things and caffeinated things around the times that I'm going to sing. I don't drink when I sing. That's a big no-no for me. I
Yes,
know,
I was the same.
yeah, I know some singers that can. I just it blows my voice, so it's a no for me.
That's what it
Um,
does to me too. It does
yes,
not work with me.
no, and like I always like I because there's been obviously a few performances in my life where I've like had a glass of wine and then sang, and I always think that I'm gonna sound good, and then I hear it back, and I'm like, wow, I said it absolutely. That was not a good performance at all.
And
That was just
pitchy and everything.
I don't know. So yeah, I mean the big things that I do to take care of myself, I try to stay active, try to get some sun, drink a lot of water, eat, you know, well. I find on show days I'll try and eat like little bits throughout the day instead of big meals because
Mm.
big meals like, sit and don't work really well
Yes,
with
you
my
don't feel comfortable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah. Sleep.
So,
Sleep was a
oh
big
my
one.
gosh, that is a huge one. And
Hard when you travel.
yes, and entertainers aren't good at sleep because we have late nights and I remember I went through a year, I think, in my performance career where I didn't go to bed before 5 a.m. for a whole year.
Yeah.
And I was pretty messed up
And it's
after that,
very
I have to say. Mm. I
yeah,
just
it's
couldn't
very
get to bed. I couldn't get to bed. I couldn't get to sleep. So I would just stay up all night and then go to bed at 5 a.m. And I don't know how long I slept for. I don't remember. That part of my life is a blur. But where are you most happiest now?
oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think the sort of cliche answer might be on the stage, which is certainly true. I am very, very happy when I'm on a stage. Um, I do. I mean, I know it sounds trite, but I love a beach. If you put me near a
Mm.
body of water, and I'm a happy gal. I'm an ocean baby. I love
Yes.
so that
Yes.
is definitely a happy place for me.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, I'm from Boston, so like anytime I go home to Boston, I always feel very centered. There's like there's a feeling in the air when I get there, and I feel very calm. And my mom's house is actually right on the ocean, so like it's a very calm place for me. But yeah, I mean, I am certainly very happy on a stage, big or small. Actually, it's funny, you know, especially like the newer cruise ships, like they huge
They're
stages or
and they're amazing. Like the Celebrity
wow,
Beyond, and
it's been
people, yeah, say that working on cruise ships is, you're a karaoke singer and the shows are terrible. You have not been on a ship recently. If anyone thinks that you need to do yourself a favor and go on a cruise on one of the newest cruise ships, and the
Yeah.
shows are world class, the
My mind was blown.
entertainers.
Yeah, my mind was blown. Like your daughter's in the cast. Like the dancers are incredible. The vocalists were. I'm like, I would never be cast now.
Yes,
Kids are absolute. Like they're
they're
hitting crazy,
freaks.
doing back handsprings, and I'm like, this is
Hmm.
absolutely astounding.
Hmm.
There's kids flying from the sky. There's all this crazy stuff. I mean, like literally, because I did production singing back in the day. So for the listeners that might not know this, there's production singing, which is the shows that are on board that are
Hmm.
paid for by the cruise ship. They own those shows. And then there's the guest entertainer shows, which is like my show that I bring on. So those are two sort of separate things that cruises offer, right? But the production shows, you live on board for 6 to 9 months or whatever.
That's
My
right.
contract was a 9 month contract. I worked for Celebrity actually, and I worked for Celebrity. I worked for the Celebrity Mercury, which was a smaller boat, ship. Sorry, but like, and the shows were cute. They were
Mm.
fun. I enjoyed doing them, but
Mm.
they're nothing compared to what these kids are doing. I mean, it
No.
is bananas what these kids are doing. Like I literally saw
Yes.
the show. I was like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is
Yes.
absolute madness. Like, and
Yes.
I'm not even on land. Like I've been to Vegas shows. Like these ships are insane. It's wild. It's very
Mm.
cool actually.
It
Uh,
is. It is. And the kids, I call them kids, but they're not kids. They're
they're,
actually
they're professionals.
they're
Yeah.
professionals, they're adults, but because my child's on there, I call them kids. But
Absolutely.
I uh, I mean that she is so grateful that she's had the opportunity to dance at that level
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
so long and had decent money from dancing in a way that she was actually trained to do, and not minimizing the training that
Yeah. It is a
the
cool
dance.
aspect for
Yeah,
dance. Yeah.
yes, but the vocalists are incredible.
Like
So what do you
insane. I mean,
feel has been your greatest achievement?
oh, that's a good question. I mean, I was really proud of the RuPaul finale song for sure. That was a really big career highlight for me. And also, I mean, I think I'm really proud of the fact that I have been able to be a working singer for 20 years.
Yes.
Don't know if like there's not a lot of people in the world that can say that. So I'm pretty proud of the hustle, and I'm pretty proud of just putting in the work and being able to do that. On
Yes.
my tax return it says musician, so I think that's a very cool thing.
That is a cool thing.
I'm
Yes.
pretty proud of that.
So what are your plans moving into the future? Is there anything specific that you would like to achieve? Any goals that you've set for yourself in your career?
Yeah, I mean, the Rue goal is a big one for me. I would really like to finally write a song for Rue. So that's definitely like sort of a long term kind of pipe dreamy. What not pipe dream is the wrong word. It's a goal, a career goal that I would like to work on. And then yeah, keeping going. I mean, I am really enjoying the guest entertainer thing right now. I'm booked up. Celebrity actually booked me for pretty much all of 2023. So
Amazing. With the
yeah,
same ship, with Beyond, or with some of the other
no,
ships?
so all ships across the fleet. They have me doing a lot of LGBT charters, which I'm very excited about because that is,
So
I mean,
cool. And
very
about time that they start putting the money where their mouth is too, because they've been advocating and saying that they have policy around inclusivity and diversity, and thank you, celebrity.
yes. Thank you, celebrity. You're doing it,
Thank
and
you.
it's
You're
very
actually doing it.
they're actually doing it, and it is very cool to see. I've met a lot of incredible LGBTQ cruisers actually. So a group that I
Yes.
met on it was the Beyond. They're actually coming now because I'm doing the solstice in like 2 weeks, and they booked the cruise specifically because they saw that I was going to be on it. So it's very
Amazing.
cool. Yeah, there's some really cool groups that I've come across. So yeah, I think it's really really important that they
Hmm.
are showcasing artists that are LGBTQ friendly, LGBTQ artists themselves, allies. I just think it's very cool as a
Amazing.
corporation that they're doing that. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm doing I'm doing Pride on the Beyond again next year. So I did it this year with Captain Kate. It was amazing. Got to
Yes,
raise
and her
uh,
cat.
and her kitty cat Bug. Oh,
It's
I got to
I,
meet Bug.
it's can I say it's not a very attractive looking
I
cat.
think she's cute as a button, but I do like a hairless cat. I think
But
a hairless cat is very cute.
the cat has such a bad attitude.
She gave me kisses actually when I met her. She was
I'm a
so
cat
cute.
person. No, no, I did not get kisses.
She
Anyway.
gave me kisses on the nose. I was like, "Bah!" She's very cute. But maybe it was just I caught her on a good day. I caught her on a good day, you know? Cats
Yeah.
are the thing is
Yeah.
Bug is a bigger celebrity than all of us. Like Bug's trivia gets more people in the audience than the damn production show.
Yeah, don't even get me started on Bugs
Kitty Cat is
trivia.
Kitty Cat is a superstar.
She
But no,
is a
it's been very fun.
superstar. If anyone wants to know what we're talking about, it's Bug, the
Bug
cat.
Naked. Bug Naked.
What
Go check out at Bug Naked. And Captain Kate. Captain Kate is amazing. She's what, the first and for a while the only female
female
captain of a
captain?
cruise ship. She's so cool. And again, that's another very cool thing that celebrities doing. They're being very female forward, which is
Mm.
really cool because you don't see that in a lot of corporations high up.
Yes, yes, she is
Yeah,
amazing and
it's
like a lovely person. And I had the opportunity to meet her husband and some of her family, and just gorgeous humans.
yeah,
So
inside
in
out.
yeah, in wrapping up, what
Yeah.
advice would you give to emerging artists? I know that you've offered some along this during this interview. Is there something else that you'd like to add to what you've already said?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess also to kind of go back to what I was saying before, like what I'm like looking forward to doing going forward. I think I'm transitioning into kind of a hybrid of I will be doing like both sea and land gigs. Before I was doing primarily only land stuff. Um, so I think next year is my trial run of doing more away gigs. I've been doing a lot of local stuff, but I've got the travel bug in me again. So to be able to sing and travel is a big thing for me right now, especially post pandemic, because we were also
Yes. And
wrapped up.
might I add that when we met, we're in the French Riviera.
That's right, we
So
were.
why would you not want to be doing the gigs on the ships?
I, I know. I'm heading to the Caribbean on Monday. I head to Mexico next week, so or the week
Oh,
after. So yeah, I'm pretty
it's a
excited.
tough
So
life
yeah,
on those
that's
ships.
what.
It's a tough life on those
I know,
ships.
so tough, right? Oh God. I'm in the Mexican Riviera, God. But yeah, I'm excited for to see where that all goes and just to keep working, to keep writing. I do have a project that we're working on right now with that girl group, so that'll be coming out. Actually, I think one of the songs is gonna drop in November because one of the queens is competing again on one of the Drag Race franchises. So, and then the EP itself is probably going to drop in January. So we're
Amazing.
work on that over the holidays. But yeah, emerging artists, I would say, yeah, definitely diversify. So the more skills that you have, the more bookable you are. You know, like it's especially now where we can do production ourselves, we can do writing ourselves, we can do so much. I think it is important to at least have a basic knowledge of a lot of skills. Whether or not you're like an amazing video editor is one thing, but to be able to put together something, I think is important. Also, just having a basic business knowledge I think is important too, because I think a lot of performers kind of put that to the side as well, and I include myself in this. Like I'm getting better at it
Mm.
now, but sort of the business organization of things, because we are our own businesses, so you have to
We
think of yourself
are.
as a business, as a
Mhm.
product, as you know
Thank you.
yeah, as
Because
a sellable thing.
what you just said, when I was in the midst of my performance career, I always looked at myself as a product.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you have to make that, you have to be able to market that product. You also you have to know your market and what
absolutely.
does your market want? What do they need? What things
Yes.
do I have to have? Do I have to have charts? Do I need to have backing tracks? What music are they wanting to hear? There are so many things that go into that. But if
Yeah.
you start as I am a product, and take that humanism away and not take that side of the business personally.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's hard. Like obviously we put so much of our soul into what we do as performers. It is different than just like, oh, I invented this thing and I'm selling this thing. You know, you could kind of remove yourself from that. But I do think we're all kind of entrepreneurs, right? We're all
Mm-hmm,
making our way through this industry and
mm-hmm.
to be cognizant of, yeah, who you are, what you're selling, what your product is, what you are presenting to the world, I think is really important. I also I would say to younger performers, be easy on yourself. I think we are very, very hard on ourselves as
Oh,
performers.
yes. Oh,
Extremely
yes.
hard. And the world in general is going to be hard on us. You don't need to be hard on yourself. So like
Love that.
really try to be easy on yourself. And this is something that I constantly have to learn because I am very hard on myself. I'm a Virgo for crying out loud.
So
You
am I.
are you a birthday?
I'm the 11th.
September 22nd. So yeah, I'm like right on the edge. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I just think actually there's so many performers that are Virgos. Like Beyonce's a Virgo, Michael Jackson was a Virgo. Like we're all Virgos, Virgos and Leos. That's the entire industry.
Really?
Uh,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
because like
And
Leos love
yeah.
attention and Virgos are self-hating.
Well, we are so hard on ourselves. Our expectations are ridiculous. And then we tend to have those expectations on other people too.
That's true as well. Yeah,
Mm.
uh, and yeah, I think having a basic working knowledge of like show production, how to do things, how to put together a show, super important. Like I have friends now who are later in their careers and are just figuring out how to do that. And I think it is important to see the back end of things as well, to be able to, um, you know,
Yes.
work both front and back, right? Like I think
Hmm.
it is important
Yes.
to know what the cogs are that are getting you on that stage. Who do you have to, work with? And for vocalists too, I think a basic knowledge of like sound EQing is
Oh,
really.
100%.
So like that
Hmm.
entertainment company I worked for in Boston years ago when I was a young kid, right, straight out the gate, he actually used to make us check our mics and EQ. So we would have to listen and ask for the things that we wanted in our mic. So like, oh, I need more highs. Oh, I need lows. Oh, I need reverb. Oh, I need this or that. And I think that is an important thing because you want to know this stuff so that you sound as good as you possibly can.
Yes.
Yes, you can have amazing teams that are going to make you sound amazing, but if you know what to ask for, it makes it a lot easier. And I find,
Yes.
especially as a female vocalist, uh,
Hmm.
they are going to assume that you don't know this information.
100%.
So when
Not,
you do,
yes.
it
Yes.
really does put you in a different category.
Yes. And can I tell you that even with emerging artists, there is still that gender bias, there is still misogyny. I see that within young musicians, male musicians coming through the ranks now, 18 years old, and
Yeah,
already treat their female counterparts as though they don't know anything.
absolutely. And
I see it now.
it's pretty despicable.
It's despicable. Yes, it is. And I don't know at that young age, at 18, how these boys think like that already. Why are they thinking like that? Where's that come from? Is it coming from the family? Is it coming from male teachers? I don't know, but I don't like it. And anyway,
Either.
that's a whole other rant on
I know
my
that could be a
part.
whole podcast in and of
That,
itself.
yeah, I can go on a real tangent there. But
Yeah.
just in finishing up, I just want to thank you for your time.
Oh,
Oh, it's been a real joy spending time with you. We met briefly on the ship and we said we were going to make this happen.
and we did.
And we did. Maybe we didn't do it on the French Riviera, but we've done it from our homes. Thank you to technology.
We were
And
enjoying the French Riviera. Give us a break. We had to go to the beach. Come on.
we, well, we were doing a lot of stuff. I was doing a lot of stuff in the French Riviera.
You
I
were
vis
actually really good, yeah.
Yes, I went to visit some amazing destinations while I was there. So lucky. I felt so grateful. I was, how stunning is it?
I
Oh,
mean, like
oh,
everyone should go. If you have the
every
means, you have the ability, go. It's
you
just,
need to.
it's worth
Yes,
it.
yes. I don't think I've ever felt so grateful for our world
Yeah.
as what I was when I was in the French Riviera. But anyway, we're going to share all your links in
Yay.
the show notes so our listeners can go and listen to your music. They can find you. Maybe they may want to come and visit you on one of the cruise ships. Maybe you can talk them into
Fun.
coming and
Oh,
visiting you. Are you coming to Australia at any time?
not as of yet. I hope to at some point. That would be
Yes.
amazing. I feel like a lot of times they kind of keep the guest entertainers in the regions of the world that they are around. So, for
Okay. Yes.
example, it is actually weird that not weird, it was very cool. And I'm very grateful that they flew me over to Europe, but they don't fly a lot of North American acts over to Europe. It is a lot of the
Mm,
Brits that get flown over there just because
mm, hmm.
cheaper and easier, right? I get it.
Yes,
Like for me,
exactly.
to
Yes.
pop down to the Caribbean, so easy. It's like a 3 hour flight, right? For them, it's an 8 hour flight or whatever. So I understand why that is. But yeah, I would love to sail. I did sail down to Australia on the Mercury. That was my route. We went back and forth between Australia and New Zealand. It was awesome.
Wow, that's cool.
But I will
Well,
definitely let you know if I'm down there for sure.
yes, please do, and I'll come visit. But
Yes.
it's been such a joy, Leah. I wish you all the very best.
Thank
I
you.
hope that Rapal, listen, come on.
Listen.
She is your go-to gal. All
Yes.
right?
Let's
Come on,
do a
Rapal.
collab.
Yes.
Let's do a collab.
We should start a movement here.
mean, I'm down. I'm down. Let's get it going.
Mm. But no, thank you so much, Leah. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your life with us. And look forward to seeing you next time. Thank
Yes,
you. Okay.
of course.
Bye.